Before we dive into today's episode, I have something exciting to share with you. If you're a teacher, principal, or supportive parent looking to bring vibrant educational gardens to your school, I'm hosting a free webinar just for you. In this webinar, you'll learn step by step how to grow a thriving student-led school garden that's connected to your curriculum all during class time with no extra work outside of school hours for you teachers or parents. The webinar is available 3 times a day until February 20th, so it's easy to find a time that works for you. Head over to kidsgrowingcity.ca to register now and start growing with ease. All right, let's get into today's episode. Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to the second episode of Season 2 of School Gardens with Ease podcast. I am releasing this second episode in the middle of the week because it's actually part 2 of an interview that I did with Shant, who is a grade 8 teacher and has been growing with the Oasis programs, or teaching essentially with the Oasis programs, for 3 years. Last week on Friday, I released the first part of this very inspiring conversation, and this is the second part, because it's one thing when I talk about my programs with the high level of investment and bias that I have, obviously, and it's an entirely other thing when you hear about them from an actual teacher who's utilized them for over 3 years and counting, right? Shant is a grade 8 French immersion teacher at Beverly Heights Middle School. He's been teaching now for just over 5 years and has truly found his vocation working with the underserved community of North York, Ontario. He shared so generously that I had to, keep everything in the edits, and I had to split it into 2 parts. If you haven't listened to the part 1, please go ahead and do that, because he answered a lot of your questions, and I think that we ended the part 1 in a very interesting place, and he has so much more to share in this. Make sure that you listen to this entire interview because it answers a lot of your questions, and hopefully it'll inspire you to take your next step into having your own classroom garden. So without further ado, let's go to part 2 of this inspiring conversation.
It was like you just let it go and it does itself.
Awesome.
It was very easy.
Awesome. That's great. It's really amazing to hear that. And it's important for the teachers to hear that as well. So essentially you didn't spend any time even outside of your prep and class time, not a lot, right? Like nothing over the weekends that you had to come in for, nothing for
That I had to? No,
Mhm.
nothing like that. But the sales that we put on, I think we did have 1 or 2 on a weekend.
Right.
But it wasn't like we had to. It was just something I wanted to do because I thought maybe we would generate more revenue if people, weren't working, and they'd have more time to come to the school. So that was more of a like a business decision on our part as a classroom. It wasn't something that the program mandated that I had to do or anything like that.
Right. And that was again after
And
the garden was grown, like after the plant, like the
yeah.
program.
No, but in
Yeah.
terms of growing the garden, oh gosh, no.
hmm
No. Again, it's so simple. You get everything going, and as long as your basins are filled with enough water, like they can go up to a week if you fill it enough. I mean, even over the winter holiday, over March break, we just made sure everything was really well watered before we left, and that's it. They were fine when we got back.
So you
No,
didn't
there
need
was
the
really nothing extra.
custodians, the building caretakers to come in, do anything for
Nothing like
you,
that.
nothing.
No, nothing like that. No. Everything that's part of the program in terms of the sub irrigation and how it works. It's you set it and you forget it kind of thing. Like just make sure there's enough water in it, and that's all. You make sure the blinds are open so they're getting sun, and that's it. And that's it. The only issue we had with the custodians was that they were closing the blinds, but then I put little stickies up on the windows and be like, "Do not close the
Right.
blinds," and then we were fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Yes.
No, there was nothing. It was honestly, I can't emphasize how simple this is to grow an abundant, like an actual abundance of food with your kids. They're doing everything. You just show them how to do it once. Make sure the ones who are struggling a little bit with, kind of overpacking the cups, or I think that's my biggest issue is the overpackers. And then,
The
as they're adding
overpackers.
water, it's just the overpackers, the ones who really are trying to get as much dirt into the cup as you can. But like other than that, it's as easy as pie. It's but you don't need to go as big as I did, right? You could just do it in a classroom, set up some, desks across from the windows, and that's it, right?
Right.
It's
Those
really
sunny
it depends
windows,
on you.
the
Yeah,
most
yeah,
important thing.
it depends on
Yeah,
you.
yeah. If you have sunny
Yeah,
windows, you're good to go. And the Oasis program,
yeah.
obviously.
Of course, you need that.
Yeah. So,
No,
so
you need
what?
that.
So
Yeah.
speaking of that, like, what in the program helped you the most? Like, what features of the program did you like the most? Was there anything that you didn't care for? Just tell me. Be honest.
Um, Let me think. I liked a lot of it. I liked all of it. There was nothing I didn't care for. What I felt I made more use of were the side projects that you have in each lesson. So, for example, the sun lesson, we had making the sundial, and making the thermal oven. Those little, or making the bird feeders, or like the gelatin with the bird seed. Like those were so much fun for my class to do. The hardest part, Layla, was finding the time to do everything
Right.
along in terms of all the supplement, like the extension activities.
Mm.
I wanted to do all of them. I just didn't find the time to do all of them.
Right. Right.
But they were so creative. Like as a teacher, you gave me so many ideas that I could use as well.
Yeah.
They were a lot of fun.
Yeah. So the main
Yeah,
thing is growing, right? The main thing is growing. But we
exactly.
also,
Yeah, that was my
right.
priority.
And that's
I,
right.
I want, but I wanted to make time for the other stuff as well, and often I did.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
Usually, it was because I turned a French period into a arts and crafts period, instructed in French. So I found ways of getting it in there. I think that's the part I like the most,
Mhm.
is those
Those
things.
extra things.
Also what I liked, yeah, like you brought everything. Everything is there. We got to learn about the equinox, and we actually went out and we hung the bird feeders around the parks and stuff like that.
Wow.
Like it was so many different ways to just reconnect with nature, and I think that's part of this program is working with nature. But being able to work well with nature, we need to understand nature. So these extension activities helped us understand nature more, which was a real, like, I did not expect any of those things to be included in the lesson plans. I thought it was just going to be, okay, how are we talking about what we're planting? Why are we planting what we're planting? Like the Three Sisters and things like that. But then you'd have these extension experiments, and it was like, oh, bonus, thank you. So that was a lot of fun. So thank you for
Yeah,
including
thank you
those
for
as well.
reminding me of those because yeah, my focus is also so much the growing, the growing, the growing that I right now I didn't remember that we had all of those things like about the sun and the sundial and the cooker, the sun cooker,
Oven, yeah,
and we
yeah,
have the like the herb drying rack
that's right.
and all
And then the experiment to test the
the soil
soil,
tests.
um,
That's right.
the soil test. So we spoke about,
Water
and
filter.
and then
We have yeah,
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 all of that
yeah.
stuff. And I use the water filter experiment as part of my water systems hands-on activity for science. So like it's all like
Right,
this
right.
already, and like you did so much work for us. So it's
That's awesome.
so thanks
Oh,
again.
no
Yeah,
problem.
no, I definitely made use of them. Yeah,
That's awesome. Yes, because we're like growing food has to do with learning about sun and the seeds and the soil and the water, and all of those are important. We're learning how
yeah,
to work with
yeah,
nature. And even if we're growing just in the
yeah.
classroom, that's still nature we're bringing into the classroom and growing it.
And then companion planting, and then things like trap plants, and all of those things. Like it was just you start very simple as that. Oh, okay, this is all there is to it. But then you start realizing that each of these simple things can be broken down into, and then we started talking about the mycelium, and then like it just went deeper and deeper and more complex, but it was still so accessible for the kids. Like they were still able to understand fully because it started in a very general way, and then it kind of split out. It was much easier for them to understand complicated concepts because they had that general idea of it already. So it's a very well structured program as well in terms of the delivery, where near the end of it you're getting into some more complex ideas. So yeah, no.
Awesome.
One of the questions here, and I keep going back to it in my head, is where do you think you would have been without the Oasis program? The only thing I could think of is boring and generic. I think I'd just be another boring, generic teacher who's going through the same dry, like unengaging material simply for the sake of delivering a curriculum. And I honestly, I don't think that this could have come into my educational career at a better time, because like I said, it helped me kind of crystallize my delivery in a way that is now constantly changing and constantly evolving and fun and hands-on. And that's just part of my teaching now. That's just, this is my class. So had it not been for that, I think I'd still be struggling to find that dynamic, fun energy to infuse into my lessons, right? And that it's hard to do that in a way that's easy for students to make connections with.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to do that without jumping all over the place, saying, okay, today we're doing this, today we're doing this, like you can't do that with kids. They need to have a natural progression of education. And how do you do that while still keeping everything fresh and fun and exciting? Well, this, I think, without this, I'd still be struggling to try to find that
I doubt
for
that.
me.
Like the way I know you,
I
Shant,
mean,
you would have found a
it's
way. Maybe you would have started a garden
if I
yourself.
was, yeah, who knows, right? But no, Layla, if I was maybe teaching, in a very higher level class that I am, advanced grade 12 or even a college level, I would definitely have ways of keeping it fresh and exciting. But where my students are right now, it's hard for me to make something fun when they don't have a concept of it, right? It's getting that the foundational knowledge. So they need something that they can just jump into right away and start learning with their hands, as opposed to, I don't know, learning about Yeats and Whiteworth, right? Like there's so much that goes to having an intellectual, like engaging, like riveting discussion about something, but you can't do that with grade eights. I
Yes.
wish you could, but very seldom does that happen. So they need something they can get their hands and get excited about, look forward to week after week. It's like, sir, what are we going to do in Oasis this year or this week? And every week they'd be there.
Mhm.
They wouldn't just come to school; they'd be engaged. Um,
Huge.
and
That's huge.
it's huge. It's
Yeah.
huge. Like my kids have gotten so much out of their years with me simply because they were having fun. They were having fun. And I'm not speaking for everybody, obviously, but I think if you were to take the averages, I think my kids were very fulfilled by the end of the year, simply because they saw all of their hard work that they put in fill a room with greenery and beautiful flowers, because we did the snapdragons one year, and then we did the marigolds, of course. And so just anytime they would watch a flower bloom, they'd run into the class, sir, another flower just, oh, like they were so into it
Mm.
that, I mean, I can't imagine how boring these last 3 years would have been if were it not for this program.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. You're so kind. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much.
I mean, it's I'm not just saying it for the viewers, like it's the truth. It really is. Like, I don't know, man. I try to find fun activities, but it's difficult to keep things fun while doing the same strain, or loosely following the same kind of principles, over and over and over. That's the repetition, that's the learning. But then you're still doing different things every time, and you're able to spring to art and spring to math and spring to even geography and history and indigenous studies. And like there's so many different connections you could make. Simply, everybody in the world gardens, like everybody eats food, right? So we're able to really discuss many different perspectives, all centered around what we put into our bodies. How do we nourish ourselves? How do we feed our communities? Things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, big
Big
questions.
questions.
They're
Yeah,
good.
awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
So you talked a lot about how beneficial it was for your students, and for you as a teacher. How about for you as a person? Like, how did you like it? Because I remember sometimes you would tell me, "I just go to my nursery just for me," right?
Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. So I did not realize how much of a gardener I am deep inside of me until I really started this program. I thought, yeah, I'm pretty handy around a garden. I know, but no, I had no idea. So, and everybody who came into that nursery, I want to call it, they'd just be blown away. Like it was filled with green. And they're like, Sean, you did this? I'm like, no, my students did this. I just taught them how to do it. And they would just be blown away. So often, I usually drive my husband to the subway twice a week. So I'm usually at school very early, like 7 o'clock early sometimes. So I have 2 hours to kill, and what better way to de-stress, center yourself for the day, get your hands dirty, and just plant something new. So I'd go in and I would open up a new pack of seeds, and this is where the abundance came in from, by the way, because I kind of went crazy here. So I'm like, what am I doing today? All right, sure, sounds good. And next thing you know, I'd have another 36 cups of seeds ready to go. And then I'd look back and be like, should I have done that? But then it's done, right?
Yeah.
But then that spilled over into my personal life, because our poor little tiny balcony in our apartment, the only outdoor space we have, ended up turning into, an entire nursery over the summertime. And I had, my goodness, tomatoes and 6 different kinds of peppers and parsley. And mind you, I have zero room for any of this, right? But yeah, no, we made it work. We found places to put plants, and just last year, I went crazy with the hot peppers. I think we planted 6 different varieties of hot peppers, and we probably harvested about 600 hot peppers throughout the summer. Each plant gave us a good 100 peppers, like twice. So they gave us like 50 or so, and then it came up again, another 50 or so. And so we made so much hot sauce. And so now making hot sauce is a hobby of mine. So I now know ways of cooking hot sauce, of fermenting hot sauce, of making raw hot sauce.
Oh.
So now do you like hot sauce? Can I get you some hot sauce? That'll be my Christmas
husband
present
would
for you.
love them. Yeah.
Yeah?
Me, not so much,
Perfect,
but my
perfect,
husband's
perfect.
just, yeah. And in the family, there are people
Excellent.
who would love would love that.
Okay, so let me know when we can meet up before the holidays, and I will definitely pass along a variety of hot sauces, because I didn't just make one.
Awesome, awesome. That's great.
Yeah, no, it's affected me immensely. Like you'd see, I'd be so proud of my little garden. I'd be sending you like 25 pictures.
Right, and I love
Look at
them.
this, look at this, look at
Yeah,
this.
I use them. I send them to people. I put them
Yeah,
in my material. Let everybody know how
it's
it
a
can
lot of
be.
fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I'm immensely grateful to this exposure that ignited the spark that I had inside of me someplace.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And that's what I want to hear, right? Because gardens are amazing in, changing people's lives in so many ways. And it's not just about
Yeah.
learning how to grow food. It's just like your community, and yeah, food is always, everybody eats, as you said, right? So
Yeah.
everybody has a connection with food, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
But speaking of connection, it just dawned on me. It's an amazing way to connect with your students as well when you're trying to build relationships with your students, especially the ones who seem a little bit detached, or absent-minded when they come to school. There's no better way than just digging your hands in a pile of dirt with a bunch of kids, getting dirty, getting silly, having fun. It breaks the ice, it eases tension, and it really does build that relationship that is crucial when we're dealing with kids, because once they're on your side, they're ready to learn. But if they have that oppositional mentality that against based on whatever experiences they may have come into your classroom with, there's nothing better than just saying, here's a bunch of dirt, put your hands in it, and they look at you like, is this okay? Because oftentimes kids are told, no, don't get dirty, no, do it, get dirty, get the floor dirt, it's okay, we'll clean it up, like it's part of the
Yeah, and the
process.
worms were
So just
worms
having
too,
that,
right?
that's it, right? Just having that ease with kids sometimes, where everything doesn't have to be neat and prim and tidy. And no, gardening is a dirty process. You're going to get dirty. Your clothes might get dirty. The floor's going to get dirty. You'll get dirt in your hair. It's part of it, right? You're spraying the plants. You're going to get some spray on somebody else. It's part of it, right? And it's being able to give a kid license to be a kid in the classroom is huge in terms of, making them know that you're there for them. You want to see them happy and successful and engaged. And this is a great way to build that kind of
Absolutely,
relationship,
absolutely
that
beautiful.
classroom community as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the classroom community thing as well, because we really did get to the point where it was no longer an individual's effort. It became more of a collective product made up by the collective. So kids would no longer be wondering which seed was theirs that they planted. You know what I mean? It was more like they'd walk into the room and they'd be like, we did this. It wasn't like I did that one. Right. And that when we got to that point, then we were able to be like, okay, we're fundraising, we're making money for graduation, we're making money for field trips, we're gonna donate, we're gonna make flyers, we're gonna go door to door. Like once we got to that point where they were proud of what they did as a group, now the rest of the group projects became so much easier to do
Mm,
because everybody was in it at that point.
right,
Um,
right.
which it was amazing to see. Yeah, just the transformation from that individual to like they'd walk in and be like, guys, we did that. And it was just mind blowing
Wow.
to see that as a teacher. Yeah, it was really
That
cool.
is very beautiful. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's something every teacher would want to see, right? In their kids. They are a
That's what it
team. They
comes down
feel
to. I
like
mean,
they're a team. They're part of a team and they can do anything together.
that classroom community is crucial. You have to have that. That's lesson number one in any teacher's curriculum. The first 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of school, you're building that community so that kids feel comfortable to make mistakes and take risks and try new things without worrying about what other people are going to be thinking of their efforts, right? And that's, I mean, I teach grade 8, so or 12, 13, but that's the biggest thing in their minds, right? Is the ego, is how am I going to be perceived by my peers? But when everybody is having fun and getting dirty and right, it just becomes like, okay, we're now like a family.
Right.
So people take risks and people, try new things. And that's what any teacher ever wants to strive for, is students who are unabashed to just try it.
Right.
Try it. Who knows? You might like it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. So yeah, we talked about everything, I think, but is there anything that you would want to say at the end of so that we can wrap this up?
I think we've said a lot. If you're somebody who, and I speak not to you, Layla, but to the listeners out there,
Right.
if you're looking for a way to inject some life into your regular programming, don't be intimidated by this program simply based on the results that you're seeing. Because when you see results like that, it usually implies a ton of work went into those kind of results. So don't be intimidated when you're seeing the success stories and seeing the abundance that's been created, because I kid you not, it's not that much work. And if anything, it's going to help you fill in the gaps in your programming where you were wondering what to do. Honestly, history, there's an immense number of ways that you can not just supplement your current programming, but replace your current programming with things that are spiraled and still relevant and still speak to the Ontario curriculum based on this program. I don't know how to say this in a way that is not long-winded, but ever since I started this program, I've found teaching to be easier because I have less planning to do. And the things that I'm teaching might take multiple periods, but I'm teaching multiple different lessons in that period,
Got it.
right? Assessment can come after. We can always do, performance activities as assessments as well. So using this as my STEM strand all in itself is worth its weight in gold. For me, because I was always intimidated by STEM. But there's so many other ways that we can use the fundamentals and the practices and the activities in ways that speak to different areas in the curriculum. So don't think as something this as something additional to everything else that you need to do. Like you had mentioned earlier, you can just swap out those other, let's face it, tedious, repetitive, kind of outdated things that just keep happening in classrooms every year, and just swap them out with things that are fresh, that are going to keep your kids engaged, that are going to keep them looking forward to the next lesson, and that are at the end of the day going to make your life so much easier as a teacher. So yeah, no, I recommend it to everybody who has that little bit of desire to make their classrooms more fun for their kids, and at the end of the day have opportunities for fundraising and plant drives and all those different things that you can just spring from this program.
Awesome. That's great.
So
You,
that I think that's
you know
it.
what? That's a very, very good point. Don't look at the results and think that must have been a lot of work. Yeah, that is such a good point because that does happen. So I do have your, the pictures and videos of your classroom and other teachers' classrooms, and all the things that they have grown and all that, and other teachers could be looking at that and saying, "Ha, there's no way I can do that. That must have been a lot of work." But
It's not.
it's not necessarily a lot of work, right?
No, no. You go at your own pace. And again, if you don't have the space or the amount of, I mean, maybe you have a really small classroom and you don't need to have as many pots per plant. You just do what you want to do, right? Just turns out that I really wanted to do a lot because I just got into it so much.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that it has to be that way, right? It could just be at your own pace and at your own comfort level. And every month your comfort level gets a little bit bigger, and every year it gets even bigger. And next thing you know, you're gonna try to find those empty classrooms so that you can fill as gardens.
Awesome.
That's gonna happen. You'll get the bug.
You'll get the bug. Awesome.
You'll get the bug.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shant. I appreciate it very much. And I know that this was very engaging and exciting for the listeners to listen to and hear about, gardening and these programs that I keep babbling about from a fellow teacher who's been through it and who has, struggled with some of the, aspects and have made it happen and have made it work. It's very much appreciated.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you again for all your help and making all of this happen. So it was really a privilege to be here and speak to the listeners.
You've listened to the entire episode, and for that, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And please share this episode with other teachers who might be interested in this topic. See you next week for a new episode.